Hello, welcome into the starters. I'm Dave. That is Simon, and that is George. Happy New Year's, guys.
What's going on, Dave? Happy New Year.
Dave, no
How's
fake endings today. No fake endings.
fake endings? What are you alluding to here?
Stranger Things.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Big rumblings in my house about that.
There's no fake endings here. I
My
can tell you that.
daughters and my wife have been. It's been a constant discussion the way that show ended. I know nothing about it except that the music is outstanding. I'm walking by my daughter's room and I'm hearing Tears for Fears. I'm hearing Prince, and I'm absolutely loving that. So at least that's the positive for me that's come out of that show. My daughters have done a deep dive into 80s music, so that's fantastic.
There you go.
Nice. There you go. That's great. I mean, I watched one season of that, and it wasn't for me, but it's I know a lot of people love that show. So let's try to make a better episode than how they ended it, because I know there's a lot of controversy online about it. All right, guys. World Juniors. I know you guys watched it. I did as well. Didn't work out really well for Team Canada, but Michael Hage led the whole tournament pretty much in points. And I just want to know if his play, because we've talked about Michael Hage before, and perhaps as a trade chip or anything, or his development. I just want to know, does his play at the World Juniors make him untouchable for you? Do you like enough what you saw to say this guy has to come play for the Montreal Canadiens? He can't be moved up.
Look, I don't know if he became untouchable. And I don't know if his role with the Canadiens is in a year from now. I think the numbers that he's put up in Michigan are pretty impressive, and the numbers that he put up at the World Juniors were very impressive, although not impressive enough to be named one of Canada's 3 best players by the coaching staff.
Don't know how that happens.
Who literally stood behind the bench like 2 feet from the ice and watched players go up and down the ice, and had access to a lot of video of each of Canada's games. But nonetheless, look, is he untouchable, Dave? Nobody should be untouchable.
Fair.
Nobody should be untouchable. Now, maybe when a year from now that I was pushing very hard for Nazem Kadri, and maybe you want to throw in Ryan O'Reilly, and teams were asking for Michael Hages, and some of us were like, yeah, sure, okay, no problem, let's do it, right? You're getting a veteran center, you're giving up a young player, but now you're looking at the year in Michigan. Now you're looking at what he's done at the World Juniors. I think that if Michael Hage was part of the throw-in with other stuff, maybe you remove that other stuff. Maybe it was another young prospect or for a first-round pick. I don't know. But his stock is definitely up. And I didn't think we'd see him this year. I kind of have a feeling we're going to see him at the end of this year. He's going to play his 2 games. He's going to burn a year of eligibility. And I thought the route for him would go back to Laval for all of next year, and we'll see him in 2027 and 2028. Now I have a feeling that this kid's going to come to camp next year in 26, 27 in October, and whatever, 8 months from now, whatever it is, looking for a JOB. So, my whole perspective on Michael Hage, I was really impressed because there was a lot of his teammates I felt that had tapped out or not bringing it, were ineffective. When you look at from the beginning of the tournament to the end of the tournament, he was steady, and he was Canada's best player. And again, just doubling down on what he's done at Michigan this year. Michael Hage is not untouchable, but he is less touchable than he was a couple of months ago.
Fair enough. George?
Listen, he had a great tournament, right? I mean, he did what I think was expected and more for a first-round pick. People forget he is a first-round pick, right? That probably slid down. The Canadiens had him much higher on his board. However, guys, I always put an asterisk on what happens in the World Juniors. He's a 19-year-old, okay? Playing in the World Juniors, not a 17-year-old dominating. It's completely different. That doesn't take away to the fact that he's a good hockey player and that he will probably be a good NHLer, but he's not untouchable. I mean, I've said this. The Pittsburgh Penguins, if they are willing to part with Sidney Crosby, there is few things that I'm not ready to do to bring Sidney Crosby on this team. And it's real simple. It's because Michael Hage might be a good 60, 70-point center for the next 10 years. That's fantastic. That's great. That's a great cornerstone NHL-type player. It ain't Sidney Crosby, guys. And 2 years of prime Sidney Crosby makes you a Stanley Cup contender. Michael Hage doesn't make you a Stanley Cup contender for at least 3, 4, 5 years, at best. What is his ceiling? Is his ceiling Sidney Crosby? No, his ceiling is not Sidney Crosby, no matter how good this kid is. And he might be a really good hockey player, okay? He showed that he can perform at the highest level with kids his age.
But I don't think, George, I don't think any Habs fan would object if Sidney Crosby was the prize. But let's just rewind a little bit. Like when Matt Duchene was available, when
I don't do that.
When Nazem Kadri, when the Ryan O'Reillys of the world.
I don't make these deals. No.
Yeah, that's what because I think
but there's a lot of fans. There's a lot of fans, going through Twitter and stuff, Simon. There's a lot of fans that say Michael Hage is an untouchable. Untouchable, meaning there is no one, obviously there's always the McCarr and the McDavids and the McKinnons where, okay. But they're like, no, I'm not going to give up a 37-year-old 2-3 years of Sidney Crosby for a Michael Hage. And to those people, I respond, Sidney Crosby legitimizes your team as a Stanley Cup contender, puts you in rarefied air, puts you in the, 4 or 5 teams that have a legitimate shot of winning the Stanley Cup. Michael Hage doesn't do that. I'm sorry. I'm ready to do it, and I agree with you, Simon. If we're talking about that elusive 2C that's a solid hockey player like Ryan O'Reilly or a solid hockey player, I don't make that deal. I just don't make that deal because I think he can be that. But is he going to be ever Sidney Crosby? Not going to be Sidney Crosby. That's not going to happen. So great tournament, great hockey player. I'm excited to see him in Montreal and be a really good hockey player for the Montreal Canadiens. And, I do put that asterisk that if, there's a guy available in Pittsburgh, Michael Hage has to go. Michael Hage has to go.
That's fair. When I said untouchable, I kind of,
we get what you mean.
Yeah.
If Colorado offers Cale Makar up for Michael Hage,
he's gone.
But all things being equal, but I think now look, and you're listening to Ken Hughes' press conference today, talking about Kapanen as well, right? How he's jumped into that role, and Ken Hughes believes he's going to be a second line center. That's good because you need more depth, but there's nothing wrong with just still looking to acquire, because just going off subject here, it doesn't mean that you can't get better than Kapanen or Hage at center. You can still do that, and you can still move either one of those two guys to wing, because I look at Kapanen and he's what I think having an excellent year, but is he an A+ second line center? Is he an A second line center?
Not yet, but he's young, man. He's still,
But I can guarantee you one thing: if you slide him down one spot and you put him in the 3-hole, then he's an A+ third line center. And you look at the Florida Panthers, how they've been doing it the last couple of years: A+ first line center, A+ second line center, A+ third line center. And then you have a luxury of having Phil Deneau on your third or on your fourth line with Jake Evans in the middle or Phil Deneau in the middle, this or that. So I still think there's room for upgrade. Is it going to be Michael Hage?
And I'll tell you another thing, guys. Oliver Kapanen is a lot of things, but he's not 6'6". Tage Thompson, he's suddenly available, and you're telling me Oliver Kapanen is the price. I like to live in a dream world here, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. Tage Thompson within the division would be, brutal. Sabres fans, again, you have to feel for them.
When we're filming this, I think the Sabres were winning. I think that puts them
they're performing a little bit better than
a little better. Yeah, they got 10 out of the last 11. I think they're doing all right.
Yeah, they're winning 10 out of their last 11. If they win today, let me just check quickly here. Live score update. If they win today, Dave, it'll shoot them up to 48 points. It'll still leave them a point behind Pittsburgh Penguins. Crazy.
Yeah, crazy. So we'll see what happens with them. It's funny, Ken Hughes, you mentioned the Ken Hughes press conference. He also specifically mentioned the Pittsburgh Penguins and the trade deadline. I don't know if you guys caught that, but he specifically said, we didn't think the Pittsburgh Penguins would be in it, so the trade deadline might be a bit more quiet. It's like, what are you alluding to here? What's going on there?
He listens to the podcast. He listens to the pod. Yeah, he listens to George calling for Sidney Crosby all the time. And I'm looking. And the one thing I took away from that press conference, we're going to have the most. It's very odd. You're going to have maybe 1 or 2 sellers, and whatever those guys are selling, the price is going to be so astronomical.
Yeah. Skyrocket. Yeah.
I'm looking at the standings here. Like,
it's nuts. Never seen it like this.
The Leafs right now, who terrible year, injuries, they're a mess, they're a disaster. Well, I don't know. I was watching. It was 1-0 Leafs over Florida. If they win today, they're 2 points from the Penguins in the final wild card spot.
Yeah.
Like none of these teams are tapping out.
No.
Right. So there's going to be maybe the Jets, which is crazy. Canucks and Flame. I don't know how many teams are going to tap out, man. It's so close. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, my next topic is going to be the goaltending. I know we've spoken to it about a little bit before, but now we're in 2026 and the holiday everyone was kind of like, okay, nothing's going to happen. There's a holiday free, but now the Canadiens still have 3 goalies on the roster. Sam Montembeault comes up, wins both games. What do you do now? I don't know what their plan is going forward, and I just want you guys to tell me, please. Thank you.
Well, I think it's pretty easy. I mean, if Sam Montembeault refines his form and Dobesh gives you, I would say, NHL level goaltending, those are your goalies for this year. And Jacob Fowler is going to go back to Laval and continue his development, and that's okay. That's all right. If one of them is not NHL worthy, the way Montembeault was not NHL worthy, if we go back as soon as 4 games ago, then you gotta do what's best for the team. I think that's where we're at now. Martin St. Louis and the Montreal Canadiens, that's where they're at. They're basically saying to all 3 goalies, look, Montembeault has been here since 2021. He's been the guy. He's done the job. It's his crease to lose. He doesn't get it done. Well, then we're going to have to do something. And Montembeault understands that with his conditioning stint to Laval. That was a clear message. That was not a conditioning stint. That was a message sent to Sam Montembeault telling him, Sam, listen, you got to figure this out, and you got to figure it out fast because these points mean something. Look how crowded it is in the Eastern Conference this year. 2 points is the difference between us making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. And Dobesh, look, you've been good. You've been good goaltender, but you can't afford to be the guy that gives up 4 or 5 goals a game. We're not going to be able to carry you. You're going to go to Laval. So it's real simple. Fowler will be returned to Laval if these 2 guys find their form, and right now they seem to have found their form. So maybe another start or 2, and if they've proven it, Jacob Fowler is going to be back in Laval, and that's okay. That's best case scenario for everybody.
All
right. And to echo what George is saying, and also Mark Denis said it on the morning show on Tuesday with Connor McKenna and Sean Starr on TSN 690, and I'm happy that he said it. So if we say it, we can't get blown up in the comments because it's Mark Denis and everybody loves what Mark says, right? He says there's an element here of Fowler's development that needs to be in play here. This is not a defenseman. This is not a left winger. This is not a starting pitcher. This is not a point guard. This is a very, very unique position. Like starting quarterback in football, goaltending in hockey. You can burn these guys by just putting them out there and in a position where it's very difficult for them to win. So there's a balance there. Sam Montembeault, 2 starts, looks like he's got his game back. Now, if Dobesh and Fowler starts are the same, similar, and even Fowler maybe just say a little bit better, well, that's not worth him playing once every 2 weeks or once every 10 days. Then you take your chances and you send Fowler back to Laval and you let him get his minutes and you let him get his development. Now, it'll be interesting during the Olympic break. There'll be a nice shutdown and Fowler can go and concentrate on the Laval Rocket for about 2.5 weeks, and I think that'll be very good. But the moment you think Montembeault is slightly back, you go with him, and Dobesh and Fowler are giving you the same amount of goaltending, send Fowler back to Laval, let him continue his development. If he needs to be back in March, in end of February, whatever it is, you'll assess that when you'll assess that. But like Mark Denis said, you still have to handle Jacob Fowler's development. It's still part of the big picture. Nick Suzuki, part of the big picture. Lane Hudson, part of the big picture. Demidov, Kapanen, Caulfield, all in those prime years that they've got a decade of good hockey ahead of them, all part of the big picture. And so is Jacob Fowler. He is part of the big picture. So you need to massage that. And just saying, yeah, and George is right. Every point is absolutely valuable, but not at the expense of burning what you believe is a legitimate number 1 goalie for the next decade because you want to see him play in January and February of 2026. The time will come. Ease him in there. Hopefully Montembeault and Dobesh get their games back. Let him get his minutes, and the time will come for Jacob Fowler to be the man with the club. But I don't think it's going to be done in January, February, and March of this year.
All right, fair enough. And I got one more question for you guys very quickly. Slavkovsky has gone down and he's played with Demidov and Kapanen, and we know that how great that's been going. But it's kind of left a void on that first line alongside Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. We've seen Bolduc put in that role, and now just more recently Tessier. So I just want to know, what are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to end up slotting there? Is it Kirby Dach's spot to lose when he comes back? Or do you think that that's ending up to be quite a big hole for the Canadiens, and they're going to have to make a move to fill it?
I don't know if he gets there right away, Dave, coming off an injury again. But yes, if Texier, who came off the waiver wire, gets a look, if Bolduc, who gets a look, who is just a member of this squad for about 3-4 months now, gets a look, I think Kirby Dach gets a look. There was a time that Kirby Dach played with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, and it was pretty decent, right?
Very small window, but yeah.
Yeah, so they'll get another look at it. And I also think that that's exactly where you want Kirby Dach to be. Kirby Dach is a young player, but he has had his opportunities to play and try to excel at that center ice position in Chicago and with the Habs. But forget about what happened in Chicago, what we've seen with the Habs. It doesn't look like he has the skill set to be a second line center. He looks like there's a better chance for him to help this club at the wing. Well, if you're going to put him on the wing, put him with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, and you hope that works out. But he'll get an opportunity. How it lasts, I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely no.
Okay, well,
no, absolutely not. So 2019 NHL draft, the 19th pick. Okay, that's Alex Newhook. Okay, and Alex Newhook is 24 years old. Okay, and the guy can skate. He doesn't have great finish, but
he might not be back till October of 2026.
I get this. This. But I am saying, all things even, if we are in March, and that's the projected time lapse for him to come back right now, late March is what they're saying, Alex Newhook is going to be the guy that they throw in, and not Kirby Dach. Will he get a shot? Yeah, he'll get a shot. Right now, they've thrown me, you, and the guy selling peanuts at the Bell Center to play with Suzuki and Caulfield. So he's obviously going to get a shot. But what have we seen from Dach that leads us to believe that he's going to be a first-line winger? Patrick Liney's going to get a shot. You don't think he's going to get a shot? They're all going to get a shot, man.
I was waiting for that, George. I was just waiting.
Everybody on this team has gotten the shot.
Well, that was the question, though. Will he get a shot?
Yeah, he'll get the shot, but he's not the answer, though. That's the thing. It's a riddle because he's not the guy, boys. So Kirby Dach, we know what he is right now. What he is a, unfortunately, very fragile hockey player that can have flashes of success, but cannot sustain anything. Unfortunately, I don't believe his career continues with the Montreal Canadiens unless it's on a big discount, because his contract's coming to an end. And as an RFA, I think he's going to have to swallow his pride and take a pretty low contract as an RFA, which he may not really want to do because of the role he's going to have to take on this team, because he's not going to be able to be that first line guy, second line guy. So, and he's not a center. So what is he? I mean, I don't know at this point, but he's not a first line player. It's not going to work out. I'm telling you, Alex Newhook comes back in late March. I'm not a doctor. Simon, you got your medical degree?
No,
we don't know.
I just know when people, their ankles disconnect from the rest of their body.
Usually not good. Not good. You need those for hockey.
No, listen, they said there's a chance, but I've also read that it's unlikely that he plays this season. Now,
so you don't see them right now, but I'm wearing my rose-colored glasses. They're on right now, and I believe he'll be back in late March for that playoff push. All right, and Alex Newhook's your answer. I think that's the guy on the roster. When I look at that roster and I say, who is the guy that can play with these guys? If his name's not Juraj Slavkovsky, it's Alex Newhook. That's my answer. So,
all right. Fair enough. That's actually, I really hadn't really thought of him too much as your first line winger going into the playoffs. But hey, I mean, if that's what it is, I mean, it's not a bad choice. I think.
Boys, where is Mr. Miyagi to do the? No, none of that, Simon.
No, I don't think it's allowed anymore.
No more Mr. Miyagi. Got it. Interesting fact, by the way, Pat Morita did not know karate or any martial art of any kind. This is an interesting fact.
I didn't want to know that, man. Why are you telling me that?
I don't believe it.
True fact. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for listening. Let us know who you think will be slotted in on that first line.
Hey, you see my this Bo Bichette's new club. Eh?
I've been trying to ignore that hat as you're talking.
That's gonna be such the villain, such a hero.
Isn't this Darth Vader style stuff? This is Darth Vader, right? Like joining the Imperial. The Imperial side.
All right, sorry to cut you off there, Dave.
No, it's all right. You know what? We're just going to end this right here. Have a good night, gentlemen. Follow us at the Starter 690. Tune into TSN 690 Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to noon. And let us know what you guys think about everything that we discussed today in the comment section. We appreciate you listening. Thanks, boys.
Ciao, boys.
Have a good night.